All right, it's great to have everybody here. We're excited for a preseason town hall. Just a week and a couple days. Players will be here, so the 2024 season is upon us. I want to thank everybody for joining us here in person. Great turnout tonight and good energy. And excited to have a whole bunch of people online as well. A couple things. We'll get to questions and welcome your questions. Excited to chat with you. But we do want to talk about a couple things in advance tonight. So we today or later tonight, we'll be rolling out a community impact report, just kind of sharing all the things that as a club we've done in the community over the past year. And I say as a club, but it's really you guys. You guys are the ones driving us, pushing us, working with us to make sure we're having a positive impact in the community off the pitch. And so we're going to talk a little bit, just briefly, have some highlights of that community impact report. We're going to unveil our preseason schedule and talk about our preseason matches, give some roster updates, and then dive into your questions. So without any further ado, Matt, we'll head into it. I want to first recognize Kyler Donovan for putting this report together. Kyler leads our community efforts, charitable efforts, and Kylie Wunschel handles all of our appearances. But I want to recognize them and everything they've done to put this together and everything we're doing in the community. We'll go quickly on this, and Kyler, if you want to hop right in. But just a couple pieces here. I think in the past year, we did more than ever from reaching different organizations, making sure that we're working with different groups. We do a lot with the Flock. The Flock is a great partner. $1 for every ticket purchased in the Flock end goes to the Flock Soccer Fund. And the Flock Soccer Fund then, in turn, does a lot of great things in the community, whether it be with Millennium Soccer, Cap East, or the Wisconsin Warriors. But here's just a sample of a few different things that we did to have a community impact. And I'm just going to high level this, and then you can, when you're trying to sleep tonight, you can read the report later. But we've had a great thing going for Pride Month. Our team does a nice job on the merchandise front. Raised over $5,500 for local causes. Outreach LGBTQ plus. It's been a great partner. We did an Earth Day promotion, a special line of Earth Day merchandise this year. We started a new partnership with the Disabled American Veterans of the Wisconsin chapter of the DAV. They're a great partner and raised a couple $1,000s through a auction raffle, and we're going to be doing more custom stuff with them this year. A significant donation to the Flock, and as I said, they do a lot of great things in the local soccer community. And then a really cool custom baseball jersey with the Labara folks for Hispanic Heritage Month. While we're going to talk about a lot of the cool things we've done, and that was Matt and I at our best there. Thanks, Kyler, for putting those in the. Zach, we weren't allowed to put in there. That wasn't. This is a PG-13 publication. It didn't quite make it, But speaking of community efforts, and yes, this is what the club does, but like I said, when we're doing these fundraisers, it's your dollars supporting these things. We're a greater community here working together to impact and do positive things in the community. Speaking of fundraisers, the Polar Plunge coming up in just a few weeks. What's the date on that, Kyler?
19th. February 17th.
February 17th. We have an exhibition match the day before. February 17th. At your tables tonight, you can donate. We're trying to raise some money for that. It all goes to Special Olympics Wisconsin. We've got a great relationship with Special Olympics Wisconsin because of, in part to the Unified Series that we've done here. So please scan your QR codes. Please donate. We have really cool auction items, or are they auction or raffle? Auction items. So please sign up for those. And everything we're going to raise tonight goes to our Polar Plunge team. And if anybody in the crowd would like to join us, we'd love to have you. A couple other things quickly just to run through. Good to raise some money for the community, but we want to engage and be involved in the community as well. In a new program this year with Exact Sciences. Exact Sciences partnered and sponsored all of our community events this past year. Every game, they donated 20 tickets to a local nonprofit. And then our players appeared in more than 135 community appearances, whether it be at the UW Children's Hospital, reading books, doing complimentary clinics and camps. But our players are required as part of their contract to do a certain amount of community appearances. and Matt did a great job with the guys, getting them out there 135 times, 135 individual different appearances in this past year. I mentioned the Unified Series. This has become, I don't want to say a lot of good things or thank our friends in Omaha for much, but I do want to, go back and thank Omaha for, bringing up this concept and looking for an opponent a couple years back to play in a Unified Series. And luckily, the Special Olympics of Wisconsin stepped right up, and so we've got a great rivalry going with the Omaha folks. Also played a Chicago team as well, and we'll continue kind of that tradition now this coming year. So really great program, really good partnership we have with the Special Olympics of Wisconsin. Of course, Polar Plunge benefits the Special Olympics of Wisconsin. So just all in, and I'd encourage you to kind of read more about it, but all in, $13,000 donated to the Flock Soccer Foundation. Another $30,000 in kind of various community initiatives that we do with our partners. So, it's a little over $45,000 in cash donated to local causes, 135 plus community appearances, and all in 80 plus community organizations benefited or were somehow impacted by what you guys did. And so, as I said, this is a community. We're all in this together. I think last year was great. We're excited in the near future to announce a few things that we think will make 2024 even better from a community standpoint. And just want to thank everybody here for your continued support of what we do to make sure that we're having a positive impact off the pitch. Any questions or any comments from everybody in the room before we move on, move back to on pitch? All right, thanks again, Kyler, for putting that all together. All right, let's talk about the preseason. So guys show up on Thursday. We'll do a welcome meeting with the players on Thursday. On Friday, they'll do physicals and fitness training. We'll have a welcome dinner with our staff on Friday evening, and then from there they get right into the preseason. We'll be on the road quite a bit. We'll be in Rockford, quite a bit, and then as you look at our schedule here, so we'll go to Rockford for the first week. We'll cap that off with an inter squad. Then the following week, we'll spend a few days in Rockford, but then we'll head up to Minnesota, train in Minnesota, and take on Minnesota United 2. The following week, we'll cap the week off on a Friday with a friendly match against Chicago Fire 2. Week after that, we'll head to Indy 11. And then the capstone of our preseason will be a new opponent for us, St. Louis City 2. So I want to bring Matt in to talk a little bit about kind of how we put this together. But you'll notice this is a little different than what we've done in the past. There's no collegiate teams in our preseason schedule. Focus is on professional teams, high-quality opponents, and we think this will prepare us really well for the regular USL League One regular season. One thing that we've seen quite frequently, especially if you look at the timing of these matches, many of these two teams will have their first-team players come down and play with them. And so we will expect to see a decent amount of first-team players throughout the preseason, MLS first-team players, I should say. Matt, do you want to share some comments on the schedule?
Yeah, obviously. Hey, everybody. Obviously, the overarching idea here with our goals for the 2024 season are to have the most competitive group that we've had. That starts with what we do from day one. Preseason is an integral part of preparing the guys for what we're going to be facing. So we really put a premise on trying to get the best competition that we could get. The idea with playing some of these MLS2 teams is that, as Conor mentioned, the likelihood is that there'll be a good mix of first-team players, MLS players, which makes a very competitive game for us. We've kind of given it a miss on some of the college games that we've done in the past. Not that nothing disrespectful there or anything like that. It's just we wanted to go out and find the best that we could get. Indy 11's a great opponent that we played last year from the championship. And then just having the resources to be able to go on the road, go stay in their facilities, train in good facilities for our preseason to help us prepare the best that we can. And that's sort of the big picture idea for games. The inter squad could be a mix of kind of local guys in Chicago at the end of the first week, but I think those are sort of our four key preseason matchups, and then the openers on the 16th. So that's the overarching.
Any comments, questions on preseason before we get into roster updates and then general questions?
I you taking any players on trial, like during this preseason period, to kind of see if they might fit into the squad?
Sure. Yeah.
Are you asking because you're interested, or you're curious about?
We have 20 signed players right now. A couple announcements I think coming in the next few days and next week. I've been asked not to get into that, but until that's announced. But yeah, 20 players signed. We'll probably end up carrying one or two more. So there's an opportunity for some trialists. I think we're going to have, I'm looking at I think 5 or 6 trialists come in for the first 2 weeks. We usually do trialists in 2-week increments. So we can get like a proper look at them. That will be a mix of collegiate players, academy sort of level players, and guys that are out of contract. So probably carry around 24, somewhere between 24 and 26 guys for our preseason roster. That allows us to split the groups when we play games. Obviously, guys aren't going to come in and play 90-minute matches in our first couple of preseason games. So that allows us to periodize the training sessions and make sure that guys aren't coming in hopefully picking up little injuries and stuff like that. So hopefully everyone comes in a good way and good fitness. But we'll definitely have some trialists in.
George.
These games are going to be on the road?
Correct. Yeah, our entire preseason will be on the road. Something that is a long-term project for us here is. This region doesn't have a full-size indoor facility, and something that's needed. So we are working on that long-term. But given as the USL season, League One season starts earlier and earlier, that forces us to spend a little more time on the road. And so all of our matches will be on the road.
Any excuse to go to St. Louis? Is there going to be people come and watch, or is it going to be closed?
Yeah, so all these will be closed-doored. That normally the host's rules, and at this time they'll all be closed-doored. If something were to change, we'd let you know. But George, we could probably put you in like a coach's gear or something. We'll sneak you in. Sneak you in.
With my size?
Yeah. All right, let's get into some roster updates, and then we'll get to the question. Is there a slide with the roster, or just roster update? All right, I should have my.
That's all right. I can.
That's got it.
The steel trap. No, I've got my phone here as well. No, but so like I said, 20 signed players, guys. We've returned 12, if you include Wolfgang Prentice will be returning to us on loan from Oakland on a season-long loan. Like I said, so returners. I'll kind of tick through the returning guys. So we've got from the back, we've got our goalkeeping core is back with Burn Shipman and Martin Sanchez. So two strong goalkeepers. Very pleased with that. Back lines returned. Same back line. Obviously, I think we saw Sam Brotherton decided to retire. So he's moving on to the next phase of his life. But same back line in terms of Jake Krul, Mitch Osman, Timmy Mell, and Stephen Payne was primarily our starting back four for most of the season last year. We've added Michael Chalaka to that group. He's a player who has a great background. He's played in Israel. Highest level was at San Diego Loyal, the championship team that folded last year, but got some games with them. Young, athletic center back who we have high hopes for, high ceiling, and we think he's going to come in and push. He's a little bit different profile than what we've had in the past. He's a little bit nasty. He's a little bit of an aggressive type of player. Not that our other guys aren't, but he's definitely trending more towards maybe the mean guy back there. We got some nice guys sometimes. Heading into the midfield, in terms of that. So obviously, we're Aiden Macias is returning. So obviously he was a guy who we had a lot of respect for last year. He really kicked on, and I thought he was one of our more improved players over the course of the season. He came in, haven't been out of the game for a little bit. Came in and really kicked on, and I thought was one of our stronger players towards the end of the season. Sticking with returners, we said Payne already. Derek Gebhard. Derek Gebhard can play a bunch of different positions. He's been with us now for, I think this will be his 3rd or 4th year with the club. So Derek's been a stalwart for us last year, 6 goals. So we're really hoping he can continue to kick on and continue that production. Nazim Bartman up top with obviously Nazim had 5 goals last year. Just a good, steady, solid player in our league who we think is going to be competitive up there. Mauro Sacchero was a guy who we felt like I have a little bit higher hopes for him this year. I think he's got more to give. He's a very talented player, and I think he's come in with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think to prove something. And obviously Christian Cheney will be returning as well. And we already mentioned Wolfie. And we know Cheney, 11 goals. I think there's double that in him. I think there's double that in him if we can get the best out of him. So that's going to be the idea for Chris. And then other new guys. Obviously we've announced Jimmy Villalobos just recently. He's coming to us on loan from One Knoxville for the year. Really like this player. He was a player who was at Chattanooga in the past with that team with Timmy Mel, the team that made it to the final in 22. Just a really strong, solid central midfield player, box to box. Can get involved in attacks, can help us spread the ball around and play the way we like to play. John Murphy, another guy who's had success in the league, League One. League One player, obviously with Omaha, had spent some time with New York Red Bulls too, and then obviously with Tormenta last year. So just I think a really strong midfield. Devin Boyce is another guy we've added who's been a rival of ours in the league. We know him. We know he's hard to play against. And we value that. We value that aggressiveness. We obviously needed to go out and replace Andrew Wheeler, who's retired. So he's a guy who's that aggressive type of player in the midfield that we felt like we needed to bring in and add quality there. Obviously, sticking with guys that we've added in. Sharif Daye, who's coming to us from Fresno Fuego, Senegalese international. Scored some great goals, just a lot of upside, a lot of 1v1, a lot of power, a lot of things that I think he'll bring in terms of a different profile than maybe what we've had in the past a little bit. Just a powerful 1v1 type of player. I'm really excited. Juan Galindrez, obviously, is a big signing for us. He's a striker. I think he's the 8th all-time leading scorer in our league. So he knows how to score. He's a proven goal scorer in our league. I think he scored 23 goals or something like that for Chattanooga in 2 seasons. So he's a guy we expect to come in and enhance productivity-wise. That was obviously a big thing for us was getting better in the attacking phase of the game, right? Adding goals, and we've added a proven goal scorer in our league. So we're excited about that. We mentioned Wolfie already, and I think I'll hold off there. We have signed. I will say there's 2 more here that we haven't announced yet. That will be announced in coming days, but one is a seasoned veteran who's been a captain in our league, who's played in the championship level as well. Who's a defender, kind of multifaceted defender, outside back, can play in the midfield as well. And then we've recently signed a number 10 from South America, who I have very high hopes for, who we think will be a high impact player. Number 10, final pass. We're really excited about that. So, like I said, 20 guys. For me, the best group that we've had since I've been at the football club, in my opinion. So from that perspective, we're all very excited. And now, obviously, the task for us as coaches is to get that group to gel, to get the best out of them, to continue to enhance our culture. But hopefully it's been obvious to you guys that there's been a strategic way of building the roster, and that's experience. That's an experienced group of guys. That's a group of guys who are proven winners in this league. The additions that we've made, guys that have won everywhere they've been for the most part, and that's the idea. We obviously have big goals and expectations this year, and that's the group that we've assembled so far. So that's where we're at. Sorry, that was a long chat, but yeah.
I think just from a front office standpoint, we think Matt and the team have done a great job. Being at 20 players right now. We're normally headed into camp with 15, 16, some years maybe even 14 players. So to have 20 locked in when we're looking to kind of cap out at 21, 22, we feel like we're in a really good spot. To Matt's point, these seasons are long. Not only do we have our season, but we have a League One Cup this year. We've got an Open Cup. And so this roster's been built to compete in all those competitions, and it's been built with a focus on depth. I think in the past years we've had a mix of some maybe younger rookie players and some more veteran players. We don't have anybody currently at this point on the league minimum. I think that shows you kind of the way we've attacked building this roster, and a lot of guys with a proven record of winning at other places. So we feel great about it, and excited to get everybody here next week. Any questions from this group as it relates to the roster before we kind of get into the questions that were submitted? We'll go here, and then Mitch and Rob.
So
This is astute.
yeah, it's a good question. So the way that
We've been there, huh?
yeah, Jimmy. So Jimmy from Knoxville does not have a recall availability. Obviously, that's an interleague loan. That wouldn't make a lot of sense if they could just call him back the day we play him or something. So no, we make sure that that's in there. Wolfie does have they do have a right to recall in Oakland, but it's a situation where we structured it this year to where there's a financial incentive for them not to do that. And the idea, based on the conversations that I've had with them, is they're not going to recall him under any circumstances because he's a young player for them. He's on a long-term contract there. He's a guy who they really want to get in a more structured, not more structured than theirs, but in a structured, stable environment to where he can compete for minutes. So Wolfie, yeah, I would say there's a significant financial incentive for him to stay with us for the season, and that's the way we structured it.
Mitch?
Yeah, so mine is also kind of about Jimmy Villalobos. So we've had some interleague loans here before in past years, but this is a little bit different in that it's not mid-season and it's not something where it was like with Toronto when we had Adolfo Valle back in 2020 when Toronto wasn't playing. How did that loan come about? Was that something that you approached Knoxville about? Did Knoxville approach you? Did Jimmy approach you guys? How did that work?
Yeah, those are always interesting because it depends who you talk to about how it got done. The agents always like to say that it's through them, but essentially I have a relationship with his agent, with Jimmy's agent, and essentially the opportunity came up. I won't go into the details of what's going on at their football club, but I would say that there was an opportunity for Jimmy to make a move. He wanted to come to Madison, which is, again, you guys that know me, I've been here, it's my third year. We want guys that want to be here. We want guys that are excited to come to Madison. He's one of the guys that's played here a few times. He's like, man, I would really like to come if we can make this work. His wife as well. They're excited to come and be a part of our team and our community. So it was really a situation where we're not just kind of like taking a flyer on a guy because we think he's a good player. Maybe someone pitched us a loan. Like it came up through it's a unique situation that doesn't happen often, but it's one sometimes where guys sign longer term deals, but it just doesn't work out. And not for any particular reason other than a change of scenery, and again, a player who for me has a lot of value at our level, and a player who is really excited to come and contribute to what we're doing.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. I've got been fortunate to develop a really close relationship with Knoxville's owner, Drew McKenna, who's a great guy and has been a great addition to the league ownership group. And Drew and I have a really good relationship. Drew and Mark McKeever and the staff down there speak extremely highly of Jimmy. And so that was a huge part of getting that deal done is that, they speak highly of him, think highly of him, have a good relationship with him, and that gave us a comfort level with Matt's background as well, and understanding of Jimmy. So we think it'll be a good fit. Rob?
You spoke not only the experience of the guys that you're signing, but specifically USL League One experience. Is that intentional, or is that sort of
absolutely
like the guys I know?
Yeah, absolutely intentional. In terms of I think even the guys, for the most part, the guys that we've signed that do have USL Championship or higher level experience, they've played in League One, and I think it's a different league. It's a different league to the Championship. Some of the challenges of our league are different challenges to what they've seen. So guys that have played in our league and had success in our league was a big part of us sort of taking hopefully some of the dice rolling out of it. There's maybe in the past we've maybe taken some flyers on a European player or I think we've done that maybe once now with the guy we're going to introduce I think next week. But outside of that, these are proven guys. These are guys who I know for the most part. These are guys who I've competed against, that we've coached against, that the players know, and they know what it takes to win. So yeah, absolutely a strategic part of hopefully taking some of the guesswork out of what we're doing.
And I think the hope is that the gelling of the squad will speed up even because there's so many familiar faces.
You mentioned with Mike and with Boyce, both players that have a little bit of an edge, have been signing guys that carry a little bit more of the edge or a little bit more of shithouses with the term I guess you could call them. Was that something that you were looking for in the offseason in terms of with club too.
I think JP calls them bad citizens. I think it's and that's in jest a little bit. I think the idea is again getting as competitive as we can get. I'll put it to you this way: we had the least amount of fouls in the entire league last year, least. So for me, that says we're maybe a little bit too nice. Now we got to get our red cards down. Obviously, we know, myself included. Okay. However, in all seriousness, it was something that we addressed, and it was something that I wanted to address in terms of we want to be hard to play against. We don't want teams to come here and we get to come and the crowd's good and Madison's a great town and we get to play in a good environment. No, we want teams to hate coming here, and that's been the idea there a little bit.
So in the past, we've definitely dealt with visa issues regarding some of our international players, and I've known that in the past that Alibres has dealt with some visa issues in the past as well too. Is there any update regarding? Is that going pretty smoothly? Is there
I got it.
Really comment regarding any of that kind of stuff?
Oh, you're on it, man. No, you got your info. No, that's true, and that's very true. He did have so Juan did have some visa issues last year with RGV. We feel really good about where we're at with our internationals this year. We have a really good immigration attorney that we've partnered with, who's really been awesome and really communicative with us. I think Keith just told me earlier that so Juan actually has his appointment in Bogota tomorrow. So our hope is that he's here within the next few weeks. Now, these things can change. They're always fluid situations. My hope is that no one's arriving, with the exception of the lad we just signed from South America, who's not Juan. The guys that we have under contract, my hope is that they're here in the next couple of weeks, and that's the same with Sharif. But like for instance, Abdu, like when we had Abdu in 2022, it was when Senegal won the AFCON, so it was like a national. The day he had his visa appointment, there was a national holiday because Senegal won the African Cup of Nations. You know what I mean? So there's all these, we have these plans and we have these procedures, and we try to stick to those timelines as best as we can. But things always come up, and we just got to be adaptable and ready to roll with it.
All right, we'll hop into some of the submitted questions, and then happy to answer roster questions or otherwise answer anything you have for us throughout the course of this town hall. A couple questions were submitted as it relates to the women's team: timeline, team name, when to expect to have a team here. So last May we announced our pursuit of a USL Super League, so first division women's team here at Breese Stevens Field. We've been working with the City of Madison. We have until May 1 of 2024 to develop a funding plan with the city that will allow us to do the necessary improvements here to have a first division professional soccer team. We've had great dialogue with the city. We're making progress. I don't have anything to report on that today, but we are continuing to work through that with the city, and the mayor has been extremely supportive of this project. And so we're working with the mayor and her team on a long-term facility plan that would allow us to bring a women's team here. Like I said, that deadline's May 1. Hopefully we'll have more to share as we get closer to May 1 or around that date, but as of now, we're just continuing to work on that project. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of work that goes into that, and so we're working hard at that. When we should expect a team, it's probably there'd be significant renovations that need to be done, and we want to limit disruption of Forward Madison and the other events that happen here. So it's likely, a 26 project, but it's too early to kind of commit to anything. Another question: is there a plan to fix bathrooms in the stadium, specifically the women's facilities? So whoever submitted this question, I'd like you to, if you could follow up and send some additional information of what you'd like to see, that would be great. We're aware that there's porta potties and temporary facilities down the flock end. Part of a long-term vision and plan would be to have permanent facilities down there. As we look to the other end of the stadium, some of the restrooms are relatively new. I think 3 or 4 years old. Others do need improvements, including the ones close to here. But we'd love to get more feedback from our fans on what we can do to improve. What I would say about the restrooms here at Breese Stevens Field: we have some new ones, we have some old ones, and we have some in between. And we do, our hope is in the next 2 to 5 years, everything is cleaned up quite a bit. All right. A question about: will you be offering concert tickets again this year? I think this was related to a ticket package that we did a year ago. or a season ticket drive. We've announced 2 concerts so far here at Breeze Stevens Field, Hosier on August 17th. And that's sold out within a few hours. Willie Nelson in Family will be here May 17th, and that is close to, there's limited tickets left there. And then we just announced, I think yesterday or Monday, the Pixies, Modest Mouse, and Cat Power will be coming as well. So we do not have a plan at this time to be including tickets into season ticket packages as we did a year ago. And we're fortunate that the shows that have been announced so far are selling quickly. All right, we'll push this one to Matt. Do you guys think the squad will have enough depth in competition for places in the squad? They want to know if we have enough depth and be ready for a playoff run, where this group that we have now, do we expect them to be with us when the season ends?
Yeah, I think the whole idea, I think Conor mentioned it briefly, but depth was a big piece. Obviously, we saw last year we struggled after the summer with the summer schedule that we had with a couple of injuries that we picked up when we didn't maybe have our best 11 to 13 guys available. It hurt the team. So the idea was to go out and get guys who can start 2 deep in each position for the most part, and we feel like that will help us in a number of ways, really. That's from the competition structure, Cup, regular season, Open Cup. Those are all competitions that I feel like we can have a real crack at doing something in now. Not that we couldn't in the past, but I feel like with the depth that we've added, I think we're going to be in a much better situation to compete in those 3 competitions. And yeah, my plan is that at the end of the season we're peaking. I would like for us to be in a better, like, put it this way. There was moments last year where Jake and Steven had played so often for us, I had to give them like 3 days off a week just so they could play on the weekend. And it's just not a situation you want to be in. So for anyone, it's just not good. We want competition for places. It's part of the culture that we want to have. The guys understand that. They know to have a championship caliber team, we have to have that. So that's kind of been the reason for what we've been doing there.
All right, what are the club's thoughts on Pro Rel? Is there any update on implementing it within the USL? Does FOMAD have ambitions for USL championship by means of not including Pro Rel? First of all, I want to acknowledge we've never been called FOMAD before. I like that. It's pretty good. Good abbreviation. I don't have any big news on Pro Rel. It's been discussed at the Board of Governors at both the League One and Championship. I think it's something the league continues to evaluate and discuss. I think if you're in the lower league, like League One, it makes sense to want Pro Rel and move up. I think if you're in the Championship, you have to understand everything that comes with that. I think if you're at League One, you have to understand everything that comes with it as well, right? Higher payroll, is there prize money for winning? Can you sustain at that level? So, I think there's going to be continued conversation. I think there's, more teams across the USL ecosystem that have an interest in Pro Rel, more that do than don't. It's just a matter of the details and what's the system and structure that works for both League One and Championship. And I think that's going to take quite a while to work out. As it relates to our ambitions of making it to Championship, we're happy in League One. We think we want to be the best in League One on and off the field. We think Madison's a great League One market. We're proud to be one of the founding League One clubs, and we're not looking to move to the Championship right now by any way other than eventual promotion, relegation, and by doing it on the field. I know North Carolina, chose to move up to the Championship. I would expect other clubs within League One to choose to do that in the future. We don't think that that's the right move for us. I think at League One, we've been able to be towards the top end of the payroll. We've been able to be competitive. Last year is a good example of that. We think we can continue to be competitive, and we want to be the best at League One. That's where our focus is. We're not spending time trying to figure out what it looks like to join another league. We want to, we've got a good home, and we want to make the best of that home. Anything you want to? Any updates on Santa Barbara Sky? I think that the League One has made some progress on expansion. You've seen some new teams be announced in the recent past, and I think more teams will be coming. I don't have an update on Santa Barbara Sky. I think it's possible for 2025, but I think that's the last that's been out there. We'll be at 12 teams for for 2024, and I think you should expect to see, I think, 3 to 5 extra teams joining the league in 2025. Now, to just prove that we read the questions as submitted, I won't filter this one. Will we be taking the U.S. Open Cup more seriously this year?
No, I think. Listen, I've always taken the Open Cup seriously. There's never once been a time where I've come in and said, guys, we're going to bottle the game today, and I'm going to take it seriously. I think my hope is that we have the depth required to compete in a better way in that tournament. My goal my priority is always the league. My priority will be the league and the League Cup. The Open Cup is a great competition. I'm all for that competition. I want us to do a better job than we did last year in that competition, and we will. But yeah, I take the Open Cup very seriously.
And as far as Open Cup schedule, I think the Open Cup window is that first week of April. We don't have any news on if we'll host or not. We have submitted to host. We do have an interest in hosting, but don't have any news on if we will host or who the opponent will be. I think a couple weeks before that date would be the potential opponents. Mitch?
Do you guys know if you're entering round 1 or round 2? I know in previous years that it was round 2, but there's been some talk as to maybe it would be round 1 for division.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we've received confirmation on that, but I think our expectation is that there's a couple groups and pairings that some teams that are already set. I think our expectation is that we'd likely play, who comes out of that amateur round. But nothing's been confirmed. Will CBS show all away games on TV or the internet like ESPN Plus did? So yeah, we have a new TV deal. USL has a TV deal with CBS, which is a really good thing. So just to kind of walk through how that'll work, all of our games will continue hopefully to be on ESPN Plus, but then some games will be on CBS or CBS stations, CBS Sports, different stations. The games that are on CBS will not be on ESPN Plus, but our hope is that our regular games are on ESPN Plus. Yes.
Don't cancel the ESPN Plus subscription.
I wouldn't do that yet.
Last year, I know there was a often times where the games would show up on YouTube in their entirety. Is that going to be a thing again this year, or does that seem like they're kind of moving away from that?
Is that like a bootleg thing, or is that what's that? I mean.
Sometimes the league did that because of stream issues. When the stream was down, I don't know if that'll continue though.
Those games are on YouTube for international fans, since you can't access ESPN Plus or anything.
Mitch knows.
All right, Mitch, you should be running the office. League office, not our office. All right, last one, and then we'll go to some extra questions. Between Coach Glazer and a designated champion from the flock, who could eat more Quick Trip Glazers? And how much do we need to donate to the Polar Plunge to find out?
I think it all depends on who the champ is.
Is it in the room or?
Yeah.
Who is it? Zach? He said if it wasn't Zach, he'd do it.
Yeah, if it's Zach, I mean.
When we were prepping in the green room, he said if it's not Zach, I'll do it. But if it's Zach, I'm not. There's not enough money you can raise for charity.
I'm in. I'll give whoever it is a run for their money.
All right. Well, it doesn't have to be right now, but we'll set that up.
Please, not right now.
All right. I think. What other questions from the group? All right. A question in the chat. How did you think you were able to keep 12 players from last year on the roster?
They paid. They all got a little bit of a pay increase, but I think at the end of the day, like guys want to be here. I think if guys want to be here. Most of the conversations that I had, I would say almost 100% of the conversations that I had postseason when we do our exit meetings, that guys want to be here. Guys want to be here. So that's the first step. Obviously, we need to want them to be here as coaches, but if a player wants to be here and we feel like they're deserving to be here and represent the city and the crest, then we're going to do everything we can to try and retain. And I think continuity, we've spoken about it. Continuity is big. Continuity. You look at teams that have done well in our league over time. The Greenvilles, the Omahas, they've had continuity. They've had continuity over the course of several years, and we don't want every year to be a rebuilding year. Last year was a rebuilding year. Retaining 4 players shouldn't be the status quo. Retaining closer to 50, 60% of the roster should be where we're headed at our level. That's my opinion, and that's how we tried to do it.
And I'll recognize the coaching staff too that player exit interviews, the loss in the playoffs, the next interviews. Immediately after that, they were moving quickly on the core of the team to keep it together, and I think. We were extremely successful in keeping the players we wanted to keep and have back. And that's one, because of the relationship Matt and the coaches have developed with the players. 2, I think because of the great environment that you all create on match day. But 3, because of that approach that Matt and the coaches took to get those guys locked up right away.
Yeah, you have to build from somewhere, and I think the situations, like when there's turnover, when there's high turnover, I think for everyone, from the owners to the coaches, the players, it creates the objectives become a little bit more skewed because it's just difficult to know what you're getting, right? So, for instance, like, if you're turning over 80% of your roster every season, there's a lot of unknowns there, and we've mentioned the international signings and what you're going to get is going to translate. I've seen players who have been top players in good leagues in Europe come and struggle in the United States. It's not always a given. So I think just having the continuity, having a group of guys who know what we want to do, who know how we want to play, who know what our core beliefs and values are, to start there as opposed to starting almost from scratch is just it's been a completely different offseason where actually the coaches and I have been doing more planning. We've been talking more about our methodology. We've been talking more. It's given us more time. The scouting component of the off season is so rigorous when you're. We were working 80, 90 hours a week last year in the off season to get 20 guys to 22 guys to come to Madison. So that from that perspective, it's still been rigorous. But from that perspective, it's allowed us to develop our relationships as a coaching staff and how we want to train the team and all these types of things. So from that perspective, like I think continuity goes a long way, and the hope is that the guys come in. We've learned lessons from last year. That's the hope, that we're going to be reminding them of what it takes and the things that we feel like we need to improve. We've done a deep dive into last season, so I think it's all encompassing, man. It's one of those where. We don't want to have that vibe, that expansion vibe. We want to be a team that's now, okay, we've got a core group of guys. Forward Madison's going to be a tough opponent every year, and that's the culture that we want to. It goes to what we were talking about with having it be a tough place to come, right? That's who we want to start to become consistently, and I think last year was an amazing step in the right direction.
When we do those exit interviews, it's pretty common for players at League One to want to get to the championship. I'll say if a player doesn't end up in the championship, if they're in League One and we want them, we're I think pretty much 100% retention rate, and we got the guys that are League One players that are at League One, the guys we wanted, we were able to retain. I think that there's maybe 1 or 2 that we would have liked to have had that wanted to move up to championship, and we wish them nothing but the best at championship.
Yeah, it's common that there's guys who play for us, who love Forward Madison, who when League One is their option for them to play footy, they want to play for us. I think there's some guys who, for instance, Pierre De Silva signed in Peru in the top level. I mean, that's a good league. These are guys who are good footballers. So I think I want to encourage that as well. We want to retain guys. We want guys that want to be here, but I also want to help them develop and get to part of what we do as a third-tier club is player development. That's part of what my staff and I take a lot of pride in, helping guys get to the next level. If that's their goal, I'm certainly not going to try to hold someone back. So that's a big part of what we do, and I think it's why players like playing here, because they know that I'm not going to try and stitch them up or keep them in a situation that they don't want to be in. If their goal is to get to MLS, then I want to help them get to MLS. Obviously, they need to come and perform here and buy into what we're doing. But yeah, that's a big part of who we want to be.
Question if the captain has been decided, or if that.
Yeah, Mitch will be the captain. Mitch will be the captain, and then we'll figure out. Kind of Wheeler was kind of our co-captain, sort of vice captain. So we'll kind of figure that out as we get going. But yeah, Mitch will be the guy.
All right, we'll go Kevin then.
Okay, my question, coaches, after 2 years in the league, where would you say is the toughest place to play on the road, and why is that?
Fresno. Fresno, because of the travel. The travel to get there is it's usually, for us to get to Fresno, it's a pretty long travel day. Sometimes, like last year when we went, we got stuck. We got stuck there. So on the way back, and it turned into a 5-day thing. So luckily, Conor gave us a place to stay for those 5 days that we were there or whatever. But Fresno's tough. It's across the country. It's a different climate. And just getting there is tough. So I would say from a travel, purely logistical standpoint, tough place to play. Not the nicest fans, either. So yeah, that's always a tough one.
All right, so regarding a fair amount of high-profile players choosing Lexington over other clubs in the league, do you think it's solely a money-based decision, or are there other factors that would entice players to join Lexington over Madison or other teams in the league? Do you think it's possible increase the USL Championship with that team going up?
Yeah, I think the rumor is that they're going up. And then I can't speak to too much more than that. I would imagine they signed Cameron Lancaster the other day. That's an expensive player, so I would imagine that. That they're spending. That's what I would imagine. So, but try not to worry too much about them. I'm really happy with what we've got. I think they'll. Lexington is Lexington. They're in a situation where they're doing a lot of rebuilding. It's a difficult situation. Certainly signed some good players, but excited to compete against them. Good coach. Really a big fan of Darren Powell and those guys and what they do. So I'm excited to compete against those guys.
Yeah, I'll say, a year ago, it became clear around this time with the way that NCFC was approaching building their roster and their budget, that they probably weren't going to be in League One for too long. I don't know what's happening with other teams. We've always tried to be top 1, 2, or top quarter from a payroll standpoint. The market moved quite a bit this offseason. We started out of the gates with about a 20% increase over last year, and we thought that was a good place to be to kind of stay up towards the top of the league. And I would say maybe the first week of December or so, we added another 5 to 7% on top of that, or maybe actually a little more, or maybe 5 to 8%. We kind of shifted midstream, and that's once again, I keep crediting the coaches, but Matt was reading the market pretty well. We, at that point, I think had signed 13 to 15 players. We were in a good spot, but we were missing a few key pieces, and so we went back and added some more money to the budget to make sure we're competitive. So, we to Matt's point, we can't worry about what other clubs are doing, and we've got a truly unique thing at League One off the field, that we've got a great group of owners that are working together and great people across the league, and I thoroughly enjoy being with those men and women. But we can't worry about what they're doing on the field. We got to worry about what's happening here. We think we got a good 20 players. We think we got a good coaching staff. We know we have the best fans in the league. We're ready to go. So we're feeling good about where we're at.
Yeah, Matt, you talked about adding more players with grit, more sort of a high-level experience, players who have won the league. What can fans expect, maybe stylistically, maybe the way the team looks this coming season compared to last season?
Yeah, I don't think wholesale changed in terms of our footballing. We have a pretty clear identity, I think, that we've established. I think there's ways that we want to enhance that identity, certainly putting the ball in the net. And we've talked a lot about objectivizing, I don't know if that's a word, but making that an objective and sort of how we're going to score goals, right? It's something that the coaching staff and I have talked about, like breaking it down to here's a couple of zones we need to get into more often. Here's how. Forget the system. Forget the formation. Let's talk about what we're going to do. We do a really nice job of arriving in the final third, build up play. I think we're one of the better teams. I think now what we do in the box has been an objective both in recruitment and what we're doing on the footballing side. To all right, let's get the ball. Let's find some ways to objectivize this. And so we can quantify it. So we can say, okay, we got into this area 10 times in this game. Our XG was this. You know, we need to capitalize more, whatever it might be. But I think adding a guy like Galindrez as well, and the number 10 that we've added, I think helps as well. But yeah, production's going to be hopefully what the main difference is. That's my hope.
You alluded to the League Cup. Given that now you have the sort of more balanced schedule in the league, and then you got these extra 6 or 8 games in that cup, how does that affect your way you approach the season, the way you plan? Are you going to switch up roster?
Time will tell. You know, time will tell. I think that's going to be new for everyone. It's kind of like the one where when they asked Damian Lillard, like when they did the basketball tournament, he was like, "What cup?" You know, I mean, it's for me. I'm approaching it more like. I'm approaching it more like that's our regular season, right? That cup is. I'm approaching that as obviously a separate competition, but like as something that we're taking quite seriously and something that we want to try and win that competition. So I think time will tell as to look. A lot of that is going to depend on how healthy we are, what shape we're in. But that's a competition we're going to go after, and time will tell how sort of I think time will tell in terms of you know the exactly. I don't see us like rotating super heavily. I think that's a competition where we're gonna try to put the best team on the field to go and win games.
Do we expect any changes with refs or ref quality?
Let me talk to him first.
Yeah. So I know there's been discussion about I think union agreements at other levels in other leagues. We're in a longer term agreement with Pro 2. I think is what it's called. Is that what it's called?
Pro, yeah.
Pro 2 or Pro. So we'll have similar refs to what we had a year ago. I will say, over the course of last year, we were able to develop a relationship with the supervisors in those, managing the referees and I think having a cordial, collaborative relationship with them proved to help. Not to help, but proved to be positive down the stretch. There's not any influence or anything, but I give them credit. They don't have an easy job. I give them credit for taking our phone calls and talking to us. I think Matt, we recognize that there's been some behavior on our side that needs to improve over the past few years. We're working on that, but at the same time, there's been good, collaborative, open conversations on how we can do things differently and how, especially when they're in this environment here, things can improve.
Yeah, we did. I'll follow up and say we did a. I won't go into the detail. We did a recap call with Alan Black, who's the guy who's our assigner and runs that aspect of it, at least for now. I don't know if you guys have seen. There's a lot going on with that right now in MLS, and that's a whole other thing I won't go into. But I don't know much about it. But what I would say is that the communication has gotten incredibly better from both sides of it. I think it starts there. I think it starts with a mutual respect. For me, with that stuff, it's fine as long as we have accountability, because coaches have accountability, players have accountability, jobs are on the line. Let's make sure that there's accountability. I think as long as we're heading in that direction as a league, I think we're heading in a good direction. So I feel good about where it's at.
I'll just say one last thing, and then we can move on from refs. But organizationally, a big message from us is we're amongst the best crowds in the league, but from an environment standpoint, our fans are 10 feet from the pitch on all four sides of the field. And this is a hard place to play. It's a hard place to officiate a match. And so our message to Pro has been more about, putting some additional thought into the assignment and what officials are sent to this environment, because this is a markedly different environment than a lot of other places in the league. And it's a little more intense. And it's a great place for younger referees to learn from a training ground. But at the same time, it's probably a better environment for more experienced officials that have been in louder, more raucous environments. So, Mitch?
Kind of as a side thing, has there been any communication from the league or Pro regarding labor dispute between Pro and the PSRA, the professional soccer referees.
It wasn't mentioned in the follow-up call. So we did like a season recap call with the league and Pro last week, and it wasn't mentioned. We focused on League One. We focused on their initiatives that they filled us in on their initiatives for what they're trying to do. You know, there's been, for me, the thing that I've been impressed with Pro is that they've been really open about telling us what their initiatives are and trying to make things better. They know that it's not perfect, you know, and they know that they're doing their best to make things as best as possible. And I think as long as that's happening, whatever's going on, I'm sure if something comes up where there's a strike in MLS, there will be an effect. I would have to imagine there would be some sort of effect for us, but time will tell. We try not to focus on that. Let's focus on the stuff we can control, and we go from there.
What can you tell us about the news today about this new forward initiative? It's maybe odd they chose that name, but and the coach who's joining.
Yeah, we're really upset that the league didn't pay us a naming right fee for calling their new DEI program USL Forward. No, I think it's a great program. It's a mentorship residency program. We're excited to be one of the inaugural teams participating, and all that credit should go to Matt Glazer and John Pascarella for picking up the phone when the league called and embracing it. And we're excited to have Troy McCarroll here with us. Troy's the head coach at Des Moines Menace, which is perennially one of the top League Two clubs in all of the USL, and a great program. JP used to actually be the head coach at Des Moines. So we're excited. Troy will be with us, for a few weeks in the preseason and be working with our coaching staff, learning from our coaching staff. And we think it's a great program. I want to recognize Chris Busey at the USL, who is now leading the DEI efforts and is doing a good job in a short order of time to really get these things going. So it's a great program by the league. If you look at the league has a major issue as it relates to diversity of coaches. It's bad, and it needs to improve. And this is a really good first step.
I know you're going to hate me to keep asking questions.
I think we got to go, Mitch. Thanks. We were done at 7. Go ahead, Mitch.
Mitch, we're going to hate you if you don't stop. Are you concerned about potentially going up against Des Moines Menace in the Open Cup and having Troy know all of your tactics?
No, that's like these types of things are normal, you know. Like when you go, like I myself will go and spend time with coaches in higher levels and see what they do. It's a big coaching, education, and certainly from a diversity standpoint, this league initiative for me is so important. It's so important what we're doing with this. I think having a guy like Troy in with us for a couple of weeks is going to be fantastic, and I'm not concerned. You know, I'm not concerned about that. That's kind of, we all look as coaches. We all steal from each other. This is part of it. And when it comes time to compete, the players decide the games. You know, at the end of the day. So as much as we want to feel like it's all on the whiteboard. So no concerns there at all. And also he had to sign an NDA. So.
I think to that point, though, like we have a responsibility to grow the game, and we think it. We're excited to have Troy, and if we play him, that'll even make the game even better. Anything else?
I guess with USL not having a salary cap as well too, you've now mentioned as well too that it's definitely been increasing. Do you guys see that more of a good thing, or do you feel like there should be a salary cap that comes to help teams that probably aren't able to get as much investment still stay competitive in the league as well too?
That's a good question.
I guess we're nothing other than honest. Maybe we should have put more time thinking about it. We haven't thought much about it. I think, I think it's, there's a market. There's a market for everything, right? There's a market for our tickets. There's a market for players. There's a market. You can buy a car. I mean, there's a market, and we got to react to the market. I think the interesting thing long term, candidly, is the sustainability of the lower divisions. And the losses right now at our level are significant. And I think we're all trying to figure out the model long term. I think we're really fortunate because we have amazing fan support. We're extremely stable, and we're on the top end of revenue, and we're closer. We're fortunately closer to figuring out the model more quickly than most anybody else in League One. But at some point there's a viability question that needs to be asked: as salaries keep rising and maybe revenue's not rising at the same pace. So it'll be interesting to watch it play over time. I think we don't want to contribute to the arms race. We don't want to lead the arms race. But at the same time, we're always going to be competitive here, and this ownership group's going to commit to doing what we need to do to be competitive. And we think we've positioned ourselves this year to be competitive, and we'll react to the market in future years.
Well said. There's one there.
Any players you have your eye on to fill the six, the Cello Martinez role?
Yeah, like I said, we have four central midfield players signed. I think they can all play as six. For me, I value, I don't know, maybe you guys know this by now, versatility is a big, adaptability, versatility is big for me. I don't really like the idea of a number six. I don't think that exists in the modern game. I think you have to be able to be a midfield player. You have to be a midfield player.
I'll just address to the person asking the question. I think the issue is always finding, it all starts with the pitch. You got to find a place with a good pitch that's of the quality that pro players expect, and then the facility and everything that comes around it. I don't want to say that's the easy part, but that's easier than locating a high quality pitch. Because of our climate here, we don't have really a high quality grass pitch that's accessible, that's currently accessible. It would take a significant investment to rebuild. It would take land to do that. There's a couple of turf pitches that are in better condition, candidly, than ours. We pursued both of those options in the off-season, and we haven't finalized an agreement, but I think we're close to finalizing an agreement where you'll see our players for the bulk of the summer months train off-site and be on a newer surface that'll hopefully help their joints, their lower body, and be better from a durability and sustainability standpoint over the course of the year. With that being said, I think we only had one injury the entire season. So John Pasquarella and the coaches did a great job of keeping the guys healthy. One soft tissue.
Yeah.
More than one injury, but one soft tissue injury. But we are going to invest in getting the guys off site a little bit and getting in a different environment that'll hopefully preserve for the long haul.
One question for me: any ideas of our summer friendly that we would have with an international club?
Yeah, so we announced I think earlier this past week that we'll be playing UW in our annual exhibition, the Battle for Madison. That'll be on April 20th. And then, we're close in the next few weeks here, announcing likely a Liga Expansión friendly in the month of July. And with the reduction of the league schedule from 15 league matches between League Cup and regular season, we're down to 15 from 16 a year ago. If you're a season ticket holder, you have an 18-game package. So we'll be adding an additional friendly as well, either in June or July. Any other questions? I just want to wrap by thank Matt for his time and great insight and candor. I want to thank all of you for being here and those of you that signed in online to join us. Once again, I want to just thank everybody that supports this club. I think the community initiatives and the community support and the money that we've raised together is doing good things in the community, and we look forward to doing more of that this year. So appreciate everybody's time and great to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.